If you're lucky, I'll get through all 20 slides. Okay, let's go, Don! Let's go! I'm showing tonight my personal work, not my commercial work. All these photographs are from a Holga camera, very cheap plastic camera. I have one you can look at after the presentation if you want. I like it because it's actually not too sharp. It's not too accurate. It's not too digital, I guess. A long time ago, I shot only film, back in the 80s when everybody shot film. And then through a long process, I became a photo retoucher, a digital retoucher, and I thought that was great. This is the ultimate thing. And then slowly came back to film, and there's just something about film that I really like. This is I'm getting off the trail here, but these are all analog. This is film. Holgas have lots of light leaks, and this is an example of a photograph that I fixed. It did not match my standards for perfection, which are obviously quite high. This is Popham Beach. I always like how there's a sort of a pilgrimage out to the island, like at Mount Saint Michel in France. I fixed this. I fixed the sky. I added some vignetting, and just made it more dramatic, I guess. Maybe I should go back to my notes here. You can see what I did between the two photographs. I like the vignetting. I like how it drives your eye to the center of the frame and just sort of simplifies everything. It's sort of photo 101 to push the eye to the center of the frame. And this is a good friend of mine, Declan Rexer. Remember that name? He's going to be very famous someday. Photographs of people with the Holga is very difficult because it's very hard to advance or focus. And I took this picture in the rain. The Holga is very particularly suited to the rain because it has no electronic parts or batteries of any kind. This is a photograph I took at Scarborough Beach of another friend of mine. I had a lot of practice taking this photo because he jumped through the waves for about an hour because he's from Wisconsin. He'd never seen the waves before, and it's a good camera to take to the beach because sand doesn't bother it. It has no parts to break. This is a more formal photograph. I thought of this as a sort of an interior that I was taking at the time. It's the remnants of an old building, and in a way the tree at the back sort of forms a back wall. But this is when I started thinking about using the Holga to actually take interior and exterior architecture photographs, which is what I kind of wanted to do. And I had been doing that digitally for a while, but the Holga is a much easier camera to carry around, and it's just easier to take snapshots with than a big DSLR or a Fuji 680, which was my other camera at the time, which is extremely large and clunky. So these are some interiors that I've done, and generally I get these images back as scans and I work on them a little bit, but some of them, like this particular one, is straight out of the camera. But I like this look. I like the square format. I like the vignetting. I like the really saturated look of the colors and how the shadows block up. It gives me the feeling of when you're outside on a summer day and everything is really bright, and then you come inside and everything becomes denser, or when you look into the shadows, things become denser and your eye is trying to adjust. There's a sense of realness where a digital image is very broad and flat and lacks contrast, whereas film, which Kodak and other companies worked on for decades to mimic the human eye, actually reacts like the human eye, and that although it captures a wide range of tones, it's still it's not flat. It has a lifelike quality, I guess, and that's what I really like about film. This is another image that I fixed. This is one of the Lewis and Clark, one of the many, as I found out doing some internet research, Lewis and Clark museums throughout the country in St. Louis, Missouri. On the left is the image as it came out of the camera. On the right is the one that I fixed. I straightened some lines up as I think more about architecture and architecture photography. I like things to be straight. This is the Denver Art Museum, Daniel Libeskind extension, and this is more of a detail shot, but shows the sheathing, and this is actually looking directly up at this. This is a building, if you haven't seen it before, that actually kind of leans out over the promenade. It's very dramatic. This is the Swiss Re building in London. I was there for a very overcast week, as I'm sure all of you were. The planes fly over London on their way into Heathrow, and I happened to look up at just the right moment and snap this picture. I'm not sure what's coming up next. This is at the Goodstone Inn in Virginia, which is an excellent inn in the country. If you ever go there, they have a full bar in every room, and there's a man that comes around at 5 o'clock and puts fresh ice in your ice bucket, which is amazing, especially when you're working there. I got up pre-dawn to take these pictures, and you can tell this is July in Virginia, and it has a very thick feel to it, which is another thing I like about the film. It's very dense. It's imperfect. This is winter day at my sister's house, which is also an excellent place to stay, although the open bar is not quite as good. There is a painterly, sort of slightly smudged quality about the photos that come out of this camera because it has a plastic lens. It diffuses the light. It does not render everything perfectly. And if you were looking at some of these photographs very closely, if you had more than 20 seconds, you would notice that the shutter actually bounces in many cases, and you get double images at the corners of the photographs, which is very odd because it does not happen across the entire photograph. This is a photo I took at my grandfather's funeral. This is more of a personal work, not an architecture photo, definitely, but it sort of captured the moment for me. I was feeling very desperate and alone, and I did not want any people in the photograph. This is the Long Center for Performing Arts in Austin, Texas, and I really liked how the sight lines of the shadow and the arc of this roof kind of pointed to this random generic condo building across the river, which I thought was quite odd at the time. This is one of the few photographs I've taken that I've ever cropped out of the Holga. Thank you.